Dear students, today's subject is adult education. Adult education is a vast area, but we are going to discuss only one module, which is skill development. What exactly is skill development? People have different meaning for this. The immediate conclusion of many is skill related to vocation or technical side. But skills are in the real life situation also. They are called life skills. Every individual needs to have skill to live with the neighbors, to live within the family, to live within the community. Unless one applies that skill, they may not be able to live properly, peacefully. For example, negotiation skill. If you don't negotiate, you will be always in clash with something, whether it is idea, whether it is action. You must have communication skill. You must know that if you want to communicate with anyone, you must have good words, reliable words, appropriate words. Then the communication reaches the person properly. Adult education, national and international perspective. In that we are going to deal one module which is titled skill development. What is skill development? What is actually skill? Everyone thinks that skill is directly related to vocational or technical. But skills are having two pages. One is life skills, another one is vocational skills. Life skills is very important for anyone to live in the family, in the society, in the community. Vocational skill is needed in the job area. So before going further, I would like to tell you, after going through this skill education module, you will be able to know what is skill education, what is skill training, and what are all the skills classified, what is the needs for skill development, what is the policy initiatives for skill acquisition, and you will be able to know one more very important, that is recognition of prior learning. Now, what is skill? It has a very well defined definition. Skill is an ability and capacity acquired through deliberate, systematic and sustained effort to smoothly and adaptively carry out complex activities or job functions involving ideas. Ideas means it is cognitive skills, things, technical skills, and people, that is interpersonal skills. So these three are included in this because they are integral part of the skill development. Now, many have confusion between skill training and skill education. They are always interchangeable. They are always told that training is called education and education is called training. What you read as theory in the institutional setup, it is skill education. Skill training, what you do in a practical setup. Then you can very well have the computer as a bookish knowledge, it is a education. But computer when you operate, that is training. Curriculum we take guided classified skills into four types. They are foundation skills, marketable skills, transferable skills and motivated skills. What is the foundation skill? They are basic skills. It is needed for everyone who is going for employment. Like even a preliminary knowledge of literacy and education, which is very much needed. If it is not there, then you will not be able to understand the written script which is available for you to do certain job. Now, marketable skill is the one which is always given by the employer. What type of skill you need, what type of skill he needs, so that you are selected. That skill you must have it. If you have certain skill which is not marketable, the employer is not bothered about it. If the employer needs lathe worker and you are very good in singing a song, what is the employer to do with your song? You may be an excellent singer, but it has nothing to do with the work which you are going to do it. The same way, transferable skills. You must be a good computer specialist, which you may be able to apply in different situations. You may be an accountant, you may be a typist, you may be a data entry operator, you may be working for others at home transcribing scripts. Last one is motivated skill. The skill in which you want to go. You want to be a singer, you must be a singer. If you are a singer and you are placed in dancing, you will not be able to do it. So, you are going to engage yourself by your own motivation. So, that is called motivated skill. Another classification by skillscam.com, they have classified it into technical, that is work specific skills, functional or transferable skills, personal traits or attitudes, and knowledge based skill. What is the technical skill or work specific skill? Again, if you are applying for a particular post, or if a particular post is called for, and if you don't have that skill, you are not fit for that post, or you may not even apply for that post. Functional or transferable skill, the same example which I gave earlier about the computer. The computer skill can be transferred to different places. You may be in the call center, you may be in the office as an accountant, you may be typist in another office. The personal traits, their attitudes, you must be good in moving with others, moving with the neighbors, moving with the fellow colleagues. You are having good communication with the fellow workers. All these things will come in the personal things. Then knowledge based skill. Knowledge based skill is you are well versed in certain skills. That knowledge makes you one of the best in your own profession, in your own engaging with the work. UNESCO classified literacy skills into 3 levels: basic literacy, middle literacy, that is called post literacy, and self learning, that is for continuing education. What is the basic literacy? See, any person who is called illiterate or non-literate, if that person is to be given some knowledge about the literacy and numeracy skills, the person has to be brought to the literacy class. In the literacy class, what is transacted? The literacy lessons transacted through primer. The primer contains basic literacy plus basic arithmetic. In this basic literacy, letters are introduced, words are introduced, and sentences are introduced. The small words are formed. From their words, the learners are given word identification and letter identification. Once that exercise is over, if the learners are able to identify individual letters and the combination of letters as words, then they are made to construct the sentence. In that way, the basic literacy gives little bit of knowledge, introduction to the world of letters. The same way, small mathematics. It is not that illiterates or non-literates are very bad in mathematics. They are having much more skills than the educated. You may see in the market a vegetable vendor. He may be simultaneously dealing with more than one purchaser. One may ask brinjal, another may ask the potato, another will ask tomato, and then he will be supplying to each one according to their demand. And finally, he will exactly tell what is the amount of products he has given to a particular person and what is the cost. Because he has the skill to immediately calculate by mind. But if you want that person, the vegetable vendor, to put it in writing and tell, he may be fumbling. He is not well versed with that. So to make that skill in that person is the basic skill which is introduced through these primers. Now, is it enough that basic skills, literacy skills and numeracy skills are acquired? It's not enough. By mere basic skills, one cannot be called neoliterate. So, what is the next step? It is called middle level skill. In this middle level skill, little more than the basic literacy, numeracy skills are taught, but with guided learning. The mentor will be there, the instructor will be there, the literacy teacher will be there, he will be doing it. So they will be doing little better, little more on basic literacy and numeracy. The last one is self-learning. Once you cross basic literacy and post literacy, that is called basic and middle, then you are coming for continuing education, that is self-learning. So you can pick up any paper, you can pick up any small book, then you can start reading, maybe initially slowly. Then in course of time, once you are trained, you will be able to read fast. And if you are able to read fast, you will be able to comprehend. Not only comprehend, you can retain it. Not only retain it, you can use it in your life. This is what the adult education expects. One more information I would like to give you. Adult education is not just literacy. Adult education includes awareness and functionality. Apart from literacy, awareness is knowledge. One must know knowledge. When you talk about farming, the farming involves a lot of activities. If you don't have that information, that knowledge, you may not be able to do the work, for which the awareness is important. The awareness comes from where? Either by somebody telling, or through the media, or by written script. So awareness is very important. That is the knowledge you get. Even our farmers get lot of knowledge through the media, through the field functionaries like agriculture officers, extension workers. What is the crop one can raise, and what is the rainfall to be, and what is the fertilizers that can be used, what is the profitable crop which they can raise. All these things are information. Then the information is always done analysis. Anyone receives the information, the person doesn't go immediately to action. Analyze. Is it true? Can I try for a new variety? Can I put the new fertilizer? Can I raise this crop? Will it give more money to me? It's an analysis takes place. Then conclusion. The person conclude, fine, if the agriculture officer says that I can get more money, if the extension worker says, I can get more money by raising this crop, the agriculture officer also says that it can be raised in a short period. That means that I can have another round of crop. So he takes a decision and finally he goes to action. That is, really he is coming to his farm, he is raising the crop. That action is functional improvement. That is why literacy is called functional literacy. Any information should be converted into action. Once the action takes place, that means that a person not only has got the basic literacy skills, but the person has gone to the level of converting the knowledge into action. That is beyond self-learning stage. So this is what these three skills prescribed by UNESCO. Now, what is the need for skill? Why should one need the skill? The need for skill training is recognized and action has been taken to institutionalize the systematic training program for various vocational trades. The skill is introduced through vocational trades so that you are accustomed to the trade and you are able to perform well. Fine, there are number of training institutions in this country. You know polytechnics, you know ITIs, you know community polytechnics, you know engineering colleges. They are all having training facilities. But that training facilities, is it adequate? It is not adequate because we have large population in which are ready to work, but they are not trained. Do you know, as per 2011 census, the target enrollment in class 9 and 10, it was 30.9 million students. But what is the capacity available for vocational training? It's only 2.5 million. With the result, the backlog in the capacity against the targeted enrollment is 28.4 million. This is a big gap. Fine. Now, what is the population in the age group of 14 and 16 years? They are youth. They are the persons who normally discontinue studies, enter into employment, or they complete school final and ready for employment in the small sectors, vocational sectors. That population is 75.9 million as per 2011 census. Again, the capacity available for vocational training is 2.5. Now, backlog of training capacity against the population 73.4 million. That means this gap, these persons 73.4 million are most of them in the non-formal training sector. Now, how these training programs to the skill area came in? In 1961, Apprenticeship Act came. The thought that time was, it is not enough that you have technical institutions, you have vocational institutions, you have theoretical knowledge. Everyone has passed. In the theory, you pass, you are taught something based on the curriculum, and then you read those curriculum, the materials, and then you reproduce in the examination system. You get mark and you are passed. But what about your hands-on? Many times you do hands-on in these technical or vocational institutions, but you don't do all. You may be doing a few. So you may not be able to work properly in the real work situation. So for which the Apprenticeship Act came. The moment the people they have got the certificate, they have got diploma, they have degree, they have to undergo apprenticeship in an institutional setup for which the employer is responsible. He is not only responsible for your training, even for your health and assistance also during that apprenticeship. Fine. In 2009, National Skill Development Policy was initiated. You must know that if anyone wants to get employed, the opportunities are not only in India, it is available in foreign countries also. But your training must be recognized all over the world. The certificate must be recognized by the competent authorities, for which the government thought that we must give the country a national skill development policy. And today you may be seeing in newspapers, the Prime Minister is repeatedly telling that India should be the major supplier of working force, that too trained workforce, because our country is a young country. We are not graying country. We are a young country with a lot of youth population, and they are educated and many are not educated, but whether educated or not, they need employment for livelihood. For livelihood, you need skill in your hands, and that skill must be employable skills. If you have skills which are not employable, then economic development will not come. You may have to be recognized. So the policy came in. They told that we must have good training institutions, good training setup. It must be certified after examination, test. Then that certificate, that training must be recognized. And then the curriculum must be recognized all over the world. It is not enough that we recognize for ourselves. If you are fit to be lathe operator, the lathe operator elsewhere in the country, elsewhere in the world also should have the same type of curriculum. Then only your training is recognized. Next is National Vocational Education Qualification Framework. The policy initiative has given this. I told you, if you need certification, then the curriculum must be proper, the training must be proper, educational system must be proper, training system must be proper, examination system must be proper, then the qualification is recognized. That is how this vocational education qualification framework came. The framework gives very good information about the different sectors. It is called sector councils. They have prescribed a large number of vocational courses under each sector. You may not even know that such vocational courses are available if you go through that sector. Once you browse this framework, you will be surprised. So many varieties of courses available which are all employable. And then that vocational skill sector, they have prescribed the curriculum also. And who will conduct the examination, that is also given. So once that is implemented, then you will have a certification. Then National Skill Qualification Framework. This came in 2013. This is the broader framework which came for the country skill development. The one which is very important here is prior learning. What is prior learning? Many people who are excellently good in their skill, but they are not treated as skilled workers. They are not fit for certification. They have not undergone any institutional training, but they had mentors. Because they have not undergone training in a recognized institute, they were not guided properly in the recognized institution, they are not getting certificate. For example, the Kanchipuram silk sarees or Banaras silk sarees, They are all woven by weavers. They have best of the varieties, designs, and they are doing it for years. Who has given training? Many of the weavers, they were inducted into this trade by their parents, maybe family background of doing this continuously. Their parents may be doing, grandparents may be doing, or the persons interested in weaving. But their excellent skill, are they eligible to go for employment in an organized sector? They are not. In that case, how we are going to recognize them? That is called prior learning. Then prior learning is not just, you know some best of the weavers and then you certify. No, each weaver has to be assessed. What is the competency the person has? What level of competency? Is it worker level? Is it supervisory level? It is managerial level? Like that. Then the certificate is to be given. Then non-recognized for employment in formal sector. Many in the market, they are all getting training. A motor mechanic, all of us are having car, or your parents may be having car. They don't go directly to a big company for maintenance. They go to mechanic shed. What is that mechanic shed? From where they got the training? Who recognized that? The competency. But still, the person sitting there, the person is able to find the fault and he rectifies. You are happy and give the money and come back. Can we give certificate for that person? In that case, you have to have assessment, recognition to prior learning. Many individuals become proficient in the chosen skill by engaging themselves in the informal sector, which are not certified by any competent authority and not recognized also for employment in the formal sector. So, the concept of recognition of prior learning came into existence in many countries and now in India. This is a systematic approach to assess, certify and recognize the learning outcomes gained by the persons in the informal sector. To give credibility to the recognition of prior learning, an established system needs to be followed, which is transparent. I just want to give you some examples. Kanchipuram ya Banaras, they weave best silks sarees. The Lucknow chicken work is one of the famous designs, well recognized and well received by everyone. Tie and dye work of Rajasthan is everyone's choice. Now, all these things, who does it? Persons who are not trained, in a professional organization, who have not got any certificate, but by mere experience, they do this. If they do such a work, they need recognition so that if they wish to get employment for better economic opportunities, they can go for that. That is the place where the recognition of prior learning came in. Many countries, they have standardized the recognition of prior learning. They have modules. They have standardized the one which level the certificate can be issued. Is it for a worker? Is it for a managerial person? Is it for a middle level person or supervisory person? Based on the skill and the ability, the certificate is issued. India is now slowly coming into recognition of prior learning. If it is given, it will benefit a large number of workers working in the unorganized sectors. Recognition of prior learning needs credibility, for which the procedure to be followed should be very transparent. Otherwise, other countries also will not come forward to recognize the certificate issued by Indian establishment. Few stakeholders with a definite role in the recognition of prior learning are: one, the participants or the learners. They must be ready to come forward for certification. And then their mentors, who has given training to a particular person and who are the one who are giving training such persons in the non-formal way. So they must be ready to come forward. Third thing is assessing agencies or assessors. How are they going to assess? And what is the system of assessment? What is the level they are looking for? Then last one, awarding the certificate. Who is going to give the award? Who is the certificating authority? That authority must be a recognized one. Otherwise, it will not have any credibility.